Vayikra, Leviticus. Parshas Tazria, she bears seed. Chapter 12 verses 1 through chapter 13 verses 59. Metzora, infected 1 chapter 14 verses 1 through Vayikra, Leviticus. Parshas Tazria, she bears seed. Chapter 12 verses 1 through chapter 13 verses 59. Metzora, infected 1 chapter 14 verses 1 through chapter 15 verses 33. Chapter and verse are out of sequence due to anti-Semitic Gentiles adding them after the Jewish expulsions of Europe. In the Torah, the Parshas are noted by spacings and disregarded or unknown to the King James translation. First portion. Chapter 12. 1. And the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, 2. Speak to the children of Israel, saying, if a woman conceives and gives birth to a male, she shall be unclean for 7 days, as in the days of her menstrual flow, she shall be unclean. Hashtag 3. And on the 8th day, the flesh of his foreskin shall be circumcised. 4. And for 33 days, she shall remain in the blood of purity, she shall not touch anything holy, nor may she enter the sanctuary, until the days of her purification have been completed. 5. And if she gives birth to a female, she shall be unclean for 2 weeks, like her menstruation period. And for 66 days, she shall remain in the blood of purity. 6. And when the days of her purification have been completed, whether for a son or for a daughter, she shall bring a sheep in its first year as a burnt offering, and a young dove or a turtle dove as a sin offering, to the entrance of the tent of meeting, to the Kohen. 7. And he shall offer it up before the Lord and effect atonement for her, and thus she will be purified from the source of her blood. This is the law of a woman who gives birth to a male or to a female. 8. And if she cannot afford a sheep, she shall take 2 turtle doves, or 2 young doves, one as a burnt offering and one as a sin offering. And the Kohen shall effect atonement for her, and she shall become clean. Chapter 13. 1. And the Lord spoke to Moses and Aaron, saying, 2. If a man has a seith, a sapachaf, or a bahareth on the skin of his flesh, and it forms a lesion of tzarath on the skin of his flesh, he shall be brought to Aaron the Kohen, or to one of his sons, the Kohanim. 3. The Kohen shall look at the lesion on the skin of his flesh, and if hair in the lesion has turned white, and the appearance of the lesion is deeper than the skin of his flesh, it is a lesion of tzarath. When the Kohen sees this, he shall pronounce him unclean. 4. But if it is a white bahareth on the skin of his flesh, and its appearance is not deeper than the skin, and its hair has not turned white, the Kohen shall quarantine the person with the lesion for 7 days. 5. And on the 7th day, the Kohen shall see him. And, behold, the lesion has remained the same in its appearance, the lesion has not spread on the skin. So the Kohen shall quarantine him for 7 days a second time. 6. And the Kohen shall see him on the 7th day a second time. And, behold, the lesion has become dimmer, and the lesion has not spread on the skin, the Kohen shall pronounce him clean. It is a mispachaf. He shall immerse his garments and become clean. 7. However, if the mispachaf spreads on the skin after it has been shown to the Kohen for its purification, it shall be shown to the Kohen a second time. 8. The Kohen shall look at it. And, behold, the mispachaf has spread on the skin. The Kohen shall pronounce him unclean. It is tzarath. 9. If a man has a lesion of tzarath, he shall be brought to the Kohen. 0. The Kohen shall look at it. And, behold, there is a white seith on the skin, and either it has turned the hair white, or there is healthy, live flesh in the seith. 11. It is old tzarath on the skin of his flesh, and the Kohen shall pronounce him unclean. He need not quarantine him, because he is unclean. 12. And if the tzarath has spread over the skin, whereby the tzarath covers all the skin of the person with the lesion, from his head to his feet, wherever the eyes of the Kohen can see it. 13. Then the Kohen shall look at it. And, behold, the tzarath has covered all his flesh, he shall pronounce the person with the lesion clean. He has turned completely white, he is clean. 14. But on the day that live flesh appears in it, he shall become unclean. 15. When the Kohen sees the healthy, live flesh, he shall pronounce him unclean. The live flesh is unclean, it is tzarath. 16. But if the healthy, live flesh once again turns white, he shall come to the Kohen. 17 And the Kohen shall look at it. And, behold, the lesion has turned white, the Kohen shall pronounce the lesion clean. He is clean. 18 If a person's flesh has an inflammation on its skin, and it heals. 19 And on the place of the inflammation there is a white seith, or a reddish-white bahareth, it shall be shown to the Kohen. 20 The Kohen shall look at it. And, behold, its appearance is lower than the skin, and its hair has turned white. So the Kohen shall pronounce him unclean. It is a lesion of Tazria that has erupted on the inflammation. 21 But if the Kohen looks at it, and behold, it does not contain white hair, nor does it appear to be lower than the skin, and it is dim, the Kohen shall quarantine him for 7 days. 22 And if it spreads on the skin, the Kohen shall pronounce him unclean. It is a lesion. 23 But if the bahareth remains in its place, not spreading, it is the scar tissue of the inflammation, and the Kohen shall pronounce him clean. Second portion. 24 If a person's flesh has a fire burn on its skin, and on the healed area of the burn, there is a reddish-white, or white bahareth. 25 The Kohen shall look at it. And, behold, the hair has turned white in the bahareth, and its appearance is deeper than the skin, it is Tazria, which has spread in the burn. So, the Kohen shall pronounce him unclean. It is a lesion of Tazria. 26 But if the Kohen looks at it, and behold, there is no white hair in the bahareth, and it is not lower than the skin and it is dim, the Kohen shall quarantine him for 7 days. 7 And the Kohen shall look at it on the 7th day. If it has spread on the skin, the Kohen shall pronounce him unclean. It is a lesion of Tazria. 28 But if the bahareth remains in its place, not increasing on the skin, and it is dim, it is a seith of the burn, and the Kohen shall pronounce him clean, because it is the scar tissue of the burn. 29 If a man, or a woman has a lesion on the head, or on the beard area. 30 The Kohen shall look at the lesion, and behold, its appearance is deeper than the skin, and in it is a thin golden yellow hair, the Kohen shall pronounce him unclean. It is a nethek, which is Tazria of the head, or the beard. 31 But when the Kohen looks at the nethek lesion, and behold, its appearance is not deeper than the skin, and there is no black hair in it, the Kohen shall quarantine the person with the nethek lesion for 7 days. 32 And the Kohen shall look at the lesion on the 7th day. And, behold, the nethek has not spread, and no golden yellow hair was in it, and the appearance of the nethek is not deeper than the skin. 33 He shall shave himself, but adjacent to the nethek he shall not shave, and the Kohen shall quarantine the person with the nethek again for 7 days. 34 Then the Kohen shall look at the nethek on the 7th day. And, behold, the nethek did not spread on the skin, and its appearance is not deeper than the skin, the Kohen shall pronounce him clean, and he shall immerse his garments and become clean. 35 But if the nethek spreads on the skin, after he has been declared clean. 36 The Kohen shall look at it, and behold, the nethek has spread on the skin, the Kohen need not examine for golden yellow hair, it is unclean. 37 But if the appearance of the nethek has remained the same, or if black hair has grown in it, the nethek has healed, he is clean. So the Kohen shall pronounce him clean. 38 If a man, or a woman has spots on the skin of their flesh, white spots. 39 The Kohen shall look, and behold, there are dim white spots on the skin of their flesh, it is a bohak pigmentation, which has spread on the skin. He is clean. Third portion. 40 If a man loses the hair on the back of his head, he is bald. He is clean. 41 And if he loses his hair on the side toward his face, he is bald at the front. He is clean. 42 If there is a reddish-white lesion on the back, or front bald area, it is a spreading Tazria in his back, or front bald area. 43 So the Kohen shall look at it. And, behold, there is a reddish-white seith lesion on his back, or front bald area, like the appearance of Tazria on the skin of the flesh. 44 He is a man afflicted with Tazria, he is unclean. The Kohen shall surely pronounce him unclean, his lesion is on his head. 45 And the person with Tazria, in whom there is the lesion, his garments shall be torn, his head shall be unshorn, he shall cover himself down to his mustache, and call out, unclean. Unclean. 46 All the days the lesion is upon him, he shall remain unclean. He is unclean, he shall dwell isolated, his dwelling shall be outside the camp. 47 And as for the garment that has the lesion of Tzarath upon it, on a woolen garment, or on a linen garment. 48 Or on threads prepared for the warp, or the woof of linen or of wool, or on leather or on anything made from leather. 49 If the lesion on the garment, the leather, the warp or woof threads, or on any leather article, is deep green or deep red, it is a lesion of Tzarath, and it shall be shown to the Kohen. 50 The Kohen shall look at the lesion, and he shall quarantine the article with the lesion for 7 days. 51 And he shall look at the lesion on the 7th day. If the lesion has spread on the garment, or on the warp or woof threads, or on the leather or on any article made from leather, the lesion is a malignant Tzarath, it is unclean. 52 And he shall burn the garment, the warp or woof threads of wool or of linen, or any leather article, which has the lesion upon it, for it is a malignant Tzarath, it shall be burned in fire. 53 But if the Kohen looks, and behold, the lesion has not spread on the garment, the warp or woof threads, or any leather article. 54 The Kohen shall order, and they shall wash what the lesion is upon, and he shall quarantine it again for 7 days. Fourth portion. 55 Then the Kohen shall look at it after the lesion has been washed. And, behold, the lesion has not changed in appearance, and the lesion has not spread, it is unclean. You shall burn it in fire. It is a penetrating lesion on the worn or new article. 56 But if the Kohen looks at it after it has been washed, and behold, the lesion has become dimmer, he shall tear it out of the garment, out of the leather, or out of the warp or woof threads. 57 And if it appears again on the garment, the warp or woof threads, or any leather article, it is a recurrent growth of the lesion. You shall burn it in fire the article upon which the lesion is found. 58 But the garment, the warp or woof threads, or any leather article which is washed, and the lesion disappears from them, shall be immersed a second time, and it shall be clean. 59 This is the law of a lesion of Tzarath on a woolen or linen garment, warp or woof threads, or any leather article, to render it clean or unclean. Chapter 14. 1 And the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, 2 This shall be the law of the person afflicted with Tzarath, on the day of his cleansing, he shall be brought to the Kohen. 3 The Kohen shall go outside the camp, and the Kohen shall look, and behold, the lesion of Tzarath has healed in the afflicted person. 4 Then the Kohen shall order, and the person to be cleansed shall take 2 live, clean birds, a cedar stick, a strip of crimson wool, and hyssop. 5 The Kohen shall order, and 1 shall slaughter the 1 bird into an earthenware vessel, over spring water. 6 As for the live bird, he shall take it, and then the cedar stick, the strip of crimson wool, and the hyssop, and along with the live bird, he shall dip them into the blood of the slaughtered bird, over the spring water. 7 He shall then sprinkle 7 times upon the person being cleansed from Tzarath, and he shall cleanse him. He shall then send away the live bird into the open field. 8 The person being cleansed shall then immerse his garments, shave off all his hair, and immerse himself in water, and become clean. After this, he may enter the camp, but he shall remain outside his tent for 7 days. 9 And it shall be, on the 7th day, that he shall shave off all his hair, that of his head, his beard, his eyebrows, indeed, all his hair, he shall shave off. He shall then immerse his garments and immerse his flesh in water, thus becoming clean. 10 And on the 8th day, he shall take 2 unblemished male lambs, 1 unblemished ewe lamb in its first year, 3/10 of an ephah of fine flour mixed with olive oil as a meal offering, and 1 log of olive oil. 11 And the Kohen, who is performing the cleansing, shall place the person being cleansed together with these things, before the Lord, at the entrance of the tent of meeting. 12 And the Kohen shall take 1 male lamb, and bring it as a guilt offering, along with the log of oil, and wave them as a waving before the Lord. 13 He shall slaughter the lamb in the place where one slaughters the sin offering and the burnt offering, in a holy place. For regarding the Kohen's service, the guilt offering is like the sin offering. It is a holy of holies. 14 The Kohen shall take some of the blood of the guilt offering, and the Kohen shall place it above the cartilage of the right ear of the person being cleansed, on the thumb of his right hand, and on the big toe of his right foot. 15 And the Kohen shall take some of the log of oil, and pour it onto the Kohen's left palm. 16 The Kohen shall then dip his right index finger into some of the oil that is on his left palm, and sprinkle some of the oil with his index finger 7 times, before the Lord. 17 And some of the remainder of the oil that is in his palm, the Kohen shall place on the cartilage of the right ear of the person being cleansed, on the thumb of his right hand and on the big toe of his right foot, on top of the blood of the guilt offering. 18 And what is left over from the oil that is in the Kohen's palm, he shall place upon the head of the person being cleansed, and the Kohen shall effect atonement for him before the Lord. 19 The Kohen shall then perform the service of the sin offering and effect atonement for the person being cleansed of his uncleanness. After this, he shall slaughter the burnt offering. 20 And the Kohen shall bring up the burnt offering and the meal offering to the altar. The Kohen shall thus effect atonement for him, and he shall be completely clean. Fifth portion. 21 But if he is poor and cannot afford these sacrifices, he shall take 1 male lamb as a guilt offering for a waving to effect atonement for him, and 1/10 of an ephah of fine flour mixed with oil as a meal offering, and a log of oil. 22 And 2 turtle doves or 2 young doves, according to what he can afford, 1 shall be a sin offering, and 1 a burnt offering. 23 And he shall bring them on the 8th day of his cleansing, to the Kohen, to the entrance of the tent of meeting, before the Lord. 24 And the Kohen shall take the guilt offering lamb and the log of oil, and the Kohen shall wave them as a waving, before the Lord. 25 And he shall slaughter the guilt offering lamb, and the Kohen shall take some of the blood of the guilt offerings, and place it on the cartilage of the right ear of the person being cleansed, on the thumb of his right hand, and on the big toe of his right foot. 26 And the Kohen shall then pour some of the oil into the left palm of the Kohen. 27 And the Kohen shall sprinkle, with his right index finger, some of the oil that is in his left palm, 7 times before the Lord. 28 And the Kohen shall place some of the oil that is in his palm, on the cartilage of the right ear of the person being cleansed, on the thumb of his right hand and on the big toe of his right foot, on the place of the blood of the guilt offering. 29 And what is left over from the oil that is in the Kohen's palm, he shall place upon the head of the person being cleansed, to effect atonement for him, before the Lord. 30 He shall then perform the service of 1 of the turtle doves, or of the young doves, from whatever he can afford. 31 From what he can afford, 1 as a sin offering, and 1 as a burnt offering, besides the meal offering, and the Kohen shall effect atonement for the person being cleansed, before the Lord. 32 This is the law of one in whom there is a lesion of Tzarath, who cannot afford the full array of sacrifices, when he is to be cleansed. Sixth portion. 33 And the Lord spoke to Moses and to Aaron, saying, 34 When you come to the land of Canaan, which I am giving you as a possession, and I place a lesion of Tzarath upon a house in the land of your possession. 35 And the one to whom the house belongs comes and tells the Kohen, saying, Something like a lesion has appeared to me in the house. 36 The Kohen shall order that they clear out the house, before the Kohen comes to look at the lesion, so that everything in the house should not become unclean. After this, the Kohen shall come to look at the house. 37 And he shall look at the lesion. Now, if the lesion in the walls of the house consists of dark green, or dark red sunken-looking stains, appearing as if deeper than the wall. 38 Then the Kohen shall go out of the house to the entrance of the house, and he shall quarantine the house for 7 days. 39 Then the Kohen shall return on the 7th day, and look at the house. Now, if the lesion has spread in the walls of the house. 40 The Kohen shall order that they remove the stones upon which the lesion is found, and they shall cast them away outside the city, to an unclean place. 41 And he shall scrape out the house from the inside, all around, and they shall pour out the mortar dust from what they scraped, outside the city, into an unclean place. 42 And they shall take other stones, and bring them instead of those stones. And he shall take other mortar dust, and plaster the house. 43 And if the lesion returns and erupts in the house, after he had removed the stones, and after the house had been scraped around and after it had been plastered. 44 Then the Kohen shall come and look at it. Now, if the lesion in the house has spread, it is malignant tzarath in the house, it is unclean. 45 He shall demolish the house, its stones, its wood, and all the mortar dust of the house, and he shall take them outside the city, to an unclean place. 46 And anyone entering the house, during all the days of its quarantine, shall become unclean, until the evening. 47 And whoever lies down in the house, shall immerse his garments, and whoever eats in the house, shall immerse his garments. 48 But if the Kohen comes again, and looks at the lesion, and behold, the lesion did not spread in the house, after the house has been plastered, the Kohen shall pronounce the house clean, because the lesion has healed. 49 To ritually cleanse the house, he shall take 2 birds, a cedar stick, a strip of crimson wool, and hyssop. 50 He shall slaughter 1 bird into an earthenware vessel, over spring water. 51 And he shall take the cedar stick, the hyssop, the strip of crimson wool, and the live bird, and he shall dip them into the blood of slaughtered bird, and into the spring water, and sprinkle towards the house 7 times. 52 And he shall thus cleanse the house with the blood of the bird, the spring water, the live bird, the cedar wood, the hyssop and the strip of crimson wool. 53 He shall then send away the live bird outside the city, onto the open field. He shall thus effect atonement for the house, and it will be clean. 54 All this is the law for every lesion of tzarath, and for a nethek. 55 And for tzarath of garments and houses. 56 And for a seith, and for a sapachath, and for a baharath. 57 To render decisions regarding the day of uncleanness, and the day of cleanness. This is the law of tzarath. Chapter 13. 1 And the Lord spoke to Moses and to Aaron, saying, 2 Speak to the children of Israel, and say to them, If any man has a discharge from his flesh, his discharge is unclean. 3 And this shall be the nature of his uncleanness due to his discharge. If his flesh runs with his discharge, or if his flesh is plugged up by his discharge, that is his uncleanness. For any bedding upon which the man with the discharge will lie, shall become unclean, and any object upon which he will sit, shall become unclean. 5 And a man who touches his bedding, shall immerse his garments and immerse himself in water, and he remain unclean until evening. 6 And anyone who sits on an object, upon which the man with the discharge will sit, shall immerse his garments and immerse himself in water, and he shall remain unclean until evening. 7 And anyone who touches the flesh of the man with a discharge, shall immerse his garments and immerse himself in water, and he shall remain unclean until evening. 8 And if the man with the discharge spits upon a clean person, that person shall immerse his garments and immerse himself in water, and he shall remain unclean until evening. 9 Any riding gear upon which the man with the discharge will ride, becomes unclean. 10 And whoever touches anything what will be under him, becomes unclean until evening. And whoever lifts them up shall immerse his garments and immerse himself in water, and he shall remain unclean until evening. 11 And whomever the man with the discharge touches, without the latter having rinsed his hands, shall immerse his garments and immerse himself in the waters, and he shall remain unclean until evening. 12 And an earthenware vessel which the man with the discharge will touch, shall be broken. And any wooden vessel shall be rinsed in water. 13 When the man with the discharge is cleansed of his discharge, he shall count 7 days for himself for his purification, and then immerse his garments and immerse his flesh in spring water, and he shall be clean. 14 And on the 8th day, he shall take for himself 2 turtle doves, or 2 young doves, and come before the Lord, to the entrance of the tent of meeting, and give them to the Kohen. 15 And the Kohen shall make them, 1 into a sin offering and 1 into a burnt offering, and the Kohen shall effect atonement for him from his discharge, before the Lord. 7th portion. 16 A man from whom there is a discharge of semen, shall immerse all his flesh in water, and he shall remain unclean until evening. 17 And any garment, or any leather object, which has semen on it, shall be immersed in water, and shall remain unclean until evening. 18 A woman with whom a man cohabits, whereby there was a discharge of semen, they shall immerse in water, and they shall remain unclean until evening. 19 If a woman has a discharge, her flesh discharging blood, she shall remain in her state of menstrual separation for 7 days, and whoever touches her shall become unclean until evening. 20 And whatever she lies on during her menstrual separation shall become unclean, and whatever she sits on shall become unclean. 21 And anyone who touches her bedding shall immerse his garments and immerse himself in water, and he shall remain unclean until evening. 22 And anyone who touches any object upon which she will sit shall immerse his garments and immerse himself in water, and he shall remain unclean until evening. 23 And if he is on the bedding or on the object upon which she is sitting, when he touches it, he becomes unclean until evening. 24 If a man cohabits with her, the uncleanness of her menstruation shall be upon him, and he shall be unclean for 7 days, and any bedding he lies upon shall become unclean. 25 And a woman whose flow of blood flows for many days, outside of the time of her menstrual separation, or she has a discharge after her menstrual separation, then all the days she has her unclean discharge, she shall be unclean just like the days of her menstrual separation. 26 Any bedding upon which she lies during all the time of her discharge will have the same uncleanness for her as the bedding of her menstruation, and any object upon which she will sit shall become unclean, like her menstrual uncleanness. 27 And anyone who touches them shall become unclean, he shall immerse his garments and immerse himself in water, and he shall remain unclean until evening. 28 And if she becomes clean of her discharge, she shall count for herself 7 days, and after this she may be cleansed. 29 And on the 8th day she shall take for herself 2 turtle doves, or 2 young doves, and bring them to the Cohen, to the entrance of the tent of meeting. 30 And the Cohen shall make one into a sin offering and one into a burnt offering, and the Cohen shall effect atonement for her before the Lord from the uncleanness of her discharge. 31 And you shall separate the children of Israel from their uncleanness, so that they will not die on account of their uncleanness, if they defile my sanctuary, which is in their midst. 32 This is the law for one who has a discharge, and one from whom semen issues, through which he becomes unclean. 33 And for a woman who has her menstrual flow, and for one who has a discharge, whether male or female, and a man who cohabits with an unclean woman,